On the Peng Sports Podcast, I talk about how there's light at the end of the tunnel for most NFL teams, for the Jaguars, for the Lions, for the Eagles. Well, there's light at the end of the tunnel for people who live in sub-Saharan Africa. The World Health Organization has just approved a new vaccine for malaria. Even though this vaccine is still in the early processing, it still helps many people. I believe malaria kills people in the millions. Most of those people being from sub-Saharan Africa, most of those people being children in sub-Saharan Africa. So, this is a building block to end malaria. You know, we have a bunch of diseases out in the world, but this is another one that the world and humankind and womankind are all fighting to end. And, you know, you can focus on the negative, of course, in the world, but this is a good thing people are doing. So, round of applause for all the people who developed this vaccine and all the people who are going to work on other vaccines to help with malaria, to end the fight against malaria. So, I would like to give yourself a pat on the back for the people who did this, because this is a win for all of us. This is the Peng Sports Podcast, episode 33. It is Thursday, not Wednesday, it's Thursday, October the 14th. And I'm recording this a little bit earlier than last podcast. Well, I guess later because it's Thursday, but earlier in the day because it's 7:22 a.m. And I don't have class today. No class today. Both my teachers decided to cancel. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So if you don't see a podcast on Wednesday, you know Kamal's teachers, professors, doctors, however you want to say it, they like to be called different things. Cancel class. And yeah, man. Well, to FAMU's not homecoming game, but I like to say my last official football game. Because, yeah, there's still homecoming, right? But, you know homecoming. Anyone that knows homecoming, and if it's high school homecoming or college homecoming or middle school homecoming is just different. It's just different, you know? Homecoming is a lot of hoopla, good publicity. Usually nothing crazy happens at homecoming. On campus, I can't say off campus, but usually nothing crazy happens homecoming week. It's just good vibes, but it's just different. It's not like a normal mundane, one-of-the-mill homecoming. Right? So, yeah, man. Good win against South Carolina State. Alabama A&M against Jackson State, blowout. Alabama A&M was supposed to be the favorites to potentially win the SWAC. I think they did fairly well last year in their spring season, but they may have won it last year's spring season. They may have beaten Jackson State, but I'm not too sure. This year, get blown out. Jackson State dropped 60 points on them, 60 points plus. Hopefully, FAMU can go up to Alabama A&M and get Alabama A&M, the battles of the A&Ms, you know. But yeah, man, we're able to be Alabama A&M's rival. But it's been a good week so far. Good week. Took a test. When did I take a test? I think I took a test last Thursday. And I'd been studying for another test. When I should have been probably equally studying or equally distributing my time. But took another test. Underperformed, if I do say so myself. But I did well in the first test, as I said earlier, and we calculated our grades in class, and I'm still in good shape in that class. I believe I have an A, did some extra credit, always do extra credit. Wasn't a believer in extra credit in middle school or high school, but do extra credit so you don't have to worry about it. Do your homework as early as you possibly can. This is coming from a seasoned student. I may not know a lot about paying bills, balancing checkbooks, paying insurance, going to work on time. But I do know how to be a student, and I do know that my parents were sort of right. They weren't all the way right, but they were sort of right. But my parents were owners of the household, and Newcastle just got new owners of their household. I don't want it to sound like my parents were owners like, slave or anything, but and Newcastle getting slave. No, Newcastle got new owners of their club though. And we have a new superpower in football potentially. Potentially, yes, potentially. I watch some European people's reaction, people from England primary's reaction to Newcastle getting new owners. And they think it's this new catastrophic, new development in football, new era. This is different. This is crazy. And I guess me being from the United States, I know that, yes, this is a big deal, but hold your horses. Because the United States, we get new owners all the time. Even though the salary caps in basketball and football, no salary cap in baseball, but there's salary caps. New owners change a lot of things. But having the most money doesn't always work. And we're going to touch on the MLB later. And yes, the Red Sox may have most of the money. A lot of money, may have the highest payroll, but still, having the most money doesn't always equate to winning titles. But anyways, it's not a new era in football because this era started with Chelsea back in, I don't know, when the Russian owner, I don't know his name, bought Chelsea. Because that's when the era really started. But I think we're getting into the transition or the widespread of that era, if that's the best way to put it, where Chelsea, Manchester City, Manchester United, PSG, so on and so forth aren't just going to have the rich owners. Everyone's soon going to have rich owners. I guarantee the next team that buys a club, this next guy's going to have oodles and noodles of money too. And it's going to be, this guy's going to, Burnley's going to be the next great superpower in football. I also don't love how they're calling the EPL the Super League. Okay, you won the Champions League last year, but Bayern's done that before. Multiple teams have won the Champions League and had a different winner. Not Real Madrid, but it's been in La Liga, Spain. That's not a Super League. Never been a Super League. Italy, it's happened before where the Champions League winner and the league winner are two different teams. It's happened before. England, the EPL is at the top right now. Good for them. Super League, no. Because Chelsea lost to Juventus. Manchester United lost to Young Boys. Liverpool looks good, but Liverpool isn't the most convincing team. Manchester City lost to PSG. So Super League, if they're a Super League, they'd be dominating, I believe, the Champions League. But no. But back to Newcastle. Football has always been a global game. But it's been owned, football teams have somewhat been owned by the local community. The rich guy in the local community. The rich guy in Southampton. The rich guy in Liverpool. The rich guy in Udinese. The rich guy in Bologna. Where it's sort of still had that family feel. Right? And as I said, it's always been a global game. And it's always had that balance of having the home feel, but being a global game. And sooner or later, I think that balance would have to shift. With the changing of the times and the changing of the tide. I think that shift had to happen. And is the shift a bad thing, a good thing? That's not me to decide. But we were getting into a stage in football where it was sort of getting into baseball territory. If it didn't change, it would get left in the dust and it'd be starting to play catch up. Baseball's on its way back, but it's playing catch up. To be completely fair with them, football was getting to that space where if you didn't change, the Super League may have not been the best idea, but something has to change or had to change. And this may be the change. Newcastle gets a new owner. Next it's, I don't know, maybe it's Genoa gets a new owner. Maybe it's Lyon gets a new owner. Maybe a club in Norway gets a superpower guy. The Spotify guy buys a team in Norway. Or you invest in a club in Sweden. Right? But it's going to start to be a run-of-the-mill thing. Name of the podcast, Run of the Mill. Used it twice. I probably say ladies and gentlemen, and more. But podcast 33, episode 33 of the Peng Sports Podcast, Run of the Mill. But yes, soon having big name, billion-dollar owners is going to be a regular thing. My only fear is I hope it just doesn't become Americanized, if that makes sense. Because what makes great football great is the diversity of it. Right? And what makes American football, NBA, XY, NHL, MLB, WNBA, National Lacrosse League. Don't know if that's the correct name for it, but that's what I'm going to say. MLS, cornhole. But that's what makes American sports great. Is it's American. But when you start to shift to the American model, you get a little shifty because those two things don't combine correctly together. You're in Europe and you're doing American things. Anyways, that's my only real fear about having a bunch of billion dollar owners. But these guys are not from America. Some of them are. The Glazers are. The Fenway Sports Group are. But it's a more diverse ownership group. And yes, soon we're going to start to see Wolves win Premier Leagues. Brightons win Premier Leagues, And it's going to be equal for everyone. It's not going to be one of those things where Manchester United win the Premier League, Manchester City, Chelsea, those guys are still going to be good, but other teams are going to be in the fight to win the Premier League. And this is sort of another reason why teams wanted to join the Super League, right? It wasn't only for the money, it was also for the power. These guys aren't idiots who are running these clubs. They want to stay at the top because when they stay at the top, who gets more money? It's less widespread. But again, it's sort of like that thing with diversity in the workforce. When women have jobs and when men have jobs and it's equal, and when black people and Native American people and Latinos and white people all have equal jobs, you see progress and you see that companies do better with diversity. So it's something that you can be scared of because you don't know it, but when Wolves are good, when Newcastle's good, when Everton's good, when Bologna's good, when Young Boys is good, when Genoa's good, right? When Lyon's good, when Saint Etienne's good. I'm just showing off. I didn't name a single German club. I'm just trying to show off my football knowledge. But anyways, when those teams are good, the Serie A gets better. More people want to watch Serie A. More people want to watch EPL. More people want to watch Bundesliga. Right? Because it's more diverse and it's better teams. The NFL is probably is the best leagues in the world right now. Because it's diverse. Parity, as I said last week. But yeah. Real Madrid, Barcelona, AC Milan, they all wanted to keep the power, and they're going to be like the Green Bay Packers or the Boston Celtics, where they're the old powers, and the Golden States, the new powers, are going to come up, but you see Boston's going to be fine. You see Green Bay's runners Super Bowl recently, they're going to be fine. Just it won't be less a current. It won't be a perennial thing. It's going to perennially be changing. I know that those two words don't really make sense, but stick with me. And yes, Manchester United fans, Barcelona fans, PSG fans, your teams don't suck. Other teams have just gotten better when this transition is completely, we probably won't see it fully running until 2040, 2035-ish. But when this machine starts going, your team doesn't suck. Just other teams are better. Other teams have gotten good. And it's going to be an adjustment phase for them. Football is going to be interesting if this train keeps on going. It's going to get interesting. Because we're going to see Manchester United at the bottom of the table. And it's not because they had a bunch of injuries. It's because Brighton's good. It's because Leeds is good. It's going to be interesting. And it's also just going to make the Premier League better and other teams better. Right now, the Premier League better. Because think about all the players who don't make the cut for Newcastle's. The new Newcastle. Right? I don't know who makes the cut and who doesn't make the cut. But think about it. Those guys are just going to go to the Burnleys. They're going to go to the Brightons. They're going to go to the Brentfords. Norwich. That's where those guys are going to go. Football, it just makes football better, man. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. England beat Andorra. I said Anadonia. England beat reading it fast, I can't pronounce it. England beat Andorra. They tied Hungary, if I'm not mistaken. Argentina beat Uruguay. Brazil lost to Colombia. Germany are the first team to qualify for the World Cup. And Germany is back. I just want to say they have a good manager. Leroy Sané is back in form. But everyone. Darth Vader is back in Europe. I just have to let everyone know. Can Spain of Endor be the light? Can Boba France save the day? And you thought this podcast couldn't get any more cornier. The Corny Podcast with Kamal Daniels. If I ever get banned, I got podcast names, guys. I got them. I said one in an earlier podcast, the Positive Sports Podcast, I believe. Now it's the Corny Sports Podcast with Kamal Daniels. The Corny Kamal Sports Podcast. Write it down. Seahawks versus the Ravens. It's always good to see Geno Smith show he can still play in the NFL. And he has talent. It's good. You know? And it just shows how important being in certain situations matters. And how, it may not be obvious record-wise, but how much better the Jets have gotten and how much better the NFL has gotten. Because Zach Wilson on the Jets, when Geno Smith was drafted, it would be a craziness. It would be crazy, man. It'd be crazy. Zach Wilson getting hit all the time. Zach Wilson throwing interceptions left and right. It'd be craziness. But it shows the improvement of the NFL and the improvement of players in the NFL. And the NFL being safer and smarter. I think I predicted that the NFL will slow down and it won't be at the top of its game when I'm 2050, 2040. And this podcast, we're open for changes in opinion. And I am going to change my opinion on that. I think that the NFL may not be number one, but it's still going to be at the top. Right? If that makes sense. Because with the safety of football and the changes in laws in football, I think it's going to be in a good spot. Maybe not at its peak, but definitely sustainable. TikTok is number one right now, but Facebook is still doing its thing. Instagram's still doing their thing. Twitter's still doing their thing, right? It's not going to be Vine. Even, TikTok's number one. But, again, YouTube's still doing their thing. And that's how the NFL is probably going to be. It'll probably be a Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, There'll be something new, TikTok hot. And soon TikTok's phase will run out and there'll be another phase. That's just how it works. But yeah, I retract my statement of the NFL being, I think I said they're going to be like baseball, which was quite the gaffe on my part. And I take it back. We're welcome to changes in opinions because you aren't defined by your opinions. It's an opinion. Opinions are supposed to change. The more facts you get, the more educated your opinion gets. And as it gets more educated, it may change in the process. Just make sure you're getting the right information. But yeah, the NFL has gotten better, man. How many times have you seen, I won't say in recent times because it's less frequent, but back in 2008, would you see a division rivalry? How many times would you see a division rivalry? I still butchered it. Rivalry. Two good teams playing each other. And then the head coach, the head quarterback, starting quarterback gets injured. Backup comes in, game's over. That game was far from over. Great interception by that cornerback or safety. I don't know what position he played against Matt Stafford in the back of the end zone. Phenomenal play. Just have to say that. But how many times do you see backup quarterbacks get in the game and blow it? That's why Tony Romo was so great. Great sort of sparingly. But he did a phenomenal job as the backup. Came in this game. Tony Romo's the reason why they have holders in the NFL now. You guys forget the impact Tony Romo has. He's the reason why they have holders specifically. And backup quarterbacks don't do it anymore. That used to be a common thing. Backup quarterbacks just are the holders. Now, you've got designated holders. Maybe the punter does it. And that's a maybe. But it's holders. We have holders. It's a position. And it's because of Tony Romo. Why is it because of Tony Romo? Do your research. This is a Peng Sports Positive podcast, not the Peng Sports I'm going to give you slanderous information podcast. We have a no slander list, but no slander on here unless it's warranted. Of course, obvious, if it's Penn State football, we're slandering them 25-8. If you guys didn't know, I'm not a fan of Penn State football. Never will be. Until they get their comeuppance. I'm just being completely honest with you. Anywho. Quarterbacks aren't bust anymore. Think about the past few seasons of quarterbacks and think about the quarterbacks that have been taken in the first round. Who has been maybe the biggest disappointment? Mitchell Trubisky? He only won the division a few times. Maybe not a few times, but he won the division once. Made the playoffs twice. The fact that they're saying that Matt Nagy, his job's on the line, even though he's made the playoffs before. Did he make the playoffs last year, if I'm not mistaken? Lost to the Saints. I could be mistaken, but hot seat? He's not on the hot seat. But Mitchell Trubisky's maybe been the worst quarterback taken. And again, he's made the playoffs twice. I don't care how good your defense is. You still got to score points. You can't be that bad to be a starting quarterback. If your running attack offense is that great and your defense is that great, I've never seen it before. But I guess it happened, but I because I don't necessarily remember the Bears, but come on, guys. There really is no such thing as bust in the NFL. But Russell Wilson out for 46 weeks for the Seahawks. And Geno Smith, of course, will be the starter, I'm assuming. Maybe not. And during those weeks, they play the Steelers. I think they play Steelers this week. Saints, Jaguars, Packers. He may come back against the Packers, but if he doesn't, and he's out for the full 6 weeks, Cardinals, then 49ers. Of course, his injury updates could be updated throughout, so it could be 3 to 5 weeks or 6 to 8 weeks. But from the last thing I've read, 4 to 6 weeks was about the timeline. And looking at the schedule, if he's out for all 6 weeks, we could be looking at a sort of a Drew Brees, Teddy Bridgewater kind of ordeal. Another place where the Steelers, I think, dropped the ball. They should have gotten Teddy Bridgewater. But Saints should have picked up Teddy Bridgewater, re-signed him as well. But anyways, back to the Seahawks. Steelers winnable game. Saints winnable game. Because you don't know with the Saints. You don't know what you're going to get with the Saints. And outside of the Jaguars and Packers, I think the Steelers definitely have the Seahawks definitely have a chance of winning 4 out of 6 games. 4-2. You go 4-2. What, you've lost 3 games already? 2 games already? Vikings, Rams. I think they've lost to another team. Maybe not. Maybe they were 2-2. It was week 5, this is week 6. So they're 2-3 right now. So if they can go 6-5, Russell Wilson come back. More games this season in the year. So there's definitely a chance. You know, win 4 more games, go 4-2 again. Go 10-7. Maybe that may not get you into the playoffs, but it get you into the hunt, most definitely. So Seahawks season's far from over. And I'm not totally convinced on the Cardinals, but yes, they won this week again. When I think of the Cardinals, the thing that comes to mind is a supernova, right? Burns bright, fast, and hard, and it's the brightest star in the galaxy, but it is quick to die. And dying is a harsh word for the Cardinals, right? As I drink a sip of water. You know, a guy once told me that water was, he said, HO2 or something like that. He said something crazy. He said like H3O or something, which would make it oxide. It's been a while since taking chemistry, but he told me it wasn't H2O, and I was just looking at him like, come on, man. I didn't correct him because sometimes that's when you just let people go, ladies and gentlemen. You just let them go. Just let them go. When they're just wrong, you don't correct them. You just let them go. Because it's really not your job. If they're your friend, okay, correct them. But he was so confident in saying that I just know for a fact he didn't say H2O. Because that's what it is. Dihydrogen oxide. Again, not too sure on the oxide part. I'm pretty sure it's not ite or eight. It's not oxate or oxite. Think it's oxide. Anywho. Cardinals, they just burning bright, fast, and hard. Will they keep it up? I just have to see it. I probably won't be a believer in the Cardinals until they win the Super Bowl, to be completely honest with you. It's just one of those things. It's an Ohio State football kind of thing. And it's totally different because they've beaten good teams in their homes. The Rams are a tough one. That's another team. There's a lot of questions in the NFL. The NFC West is just a big question mark. The Cardinals are 7-0, 6-0, right? But they're a question mark. The Seahawks are a question mark. What are they going to do? How good are they going to be? I said they can be 4-2, which is a definitely thing, but they could easily go 2-4, right? The 49ers, question mark, especially with Jimmy G getting injured, right? The Rams, question mark. It's just a bunch of question marks. The Chargers are a question mark. Yes, they beat the Browns. Another good victory. But I think the Chargers are a question mark. The Chiefs, question mark. The Ravens, question mark. The Colts, question mark. I think you're getting the drift. There's just a lot of questions. There's one team that I'm going to talk about a little later. I have an answer for them. It's an exclamation point period with them. Comma. ... It's not a question mark with them. Semicolon, dash, backslash. What other punctuation do we have? Plus, minus, quotation, parentheses. But if Kyler Murray wins the division and wins MVP, I think if he wins the division, he should win MVP. Because I honestly don't think people thought the Cardinals were going to be honestly, in most people's opinions, the Cardinals were going to be the worst team in that division. I truly believe that in most people's opinion. At best, third. I think it was a rare, very rare case where people had the Cardinals winning the division this year. But anyways, if the Cardinals win this division, which looks very likely, I think Kyler Murray for MVP, 100%. Which would automatically get him on the no slander list, right? And Josh Allen is in contention for the no slander list, and he is in very good form right now. 8.7 match rating. If you don't play FIFA or you don't follow football, check it out. See what a match rating is. And yeah, man, we'll get more into them later. But the team I want to talk about right now are the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the reason why the Jaguars are losing is not because of effort. It's not because of coaching. It's not because of distractions that people in the locker room don't really care about, but for some reason everyone else seems to care about and it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's personal. This is professional. This is NFL, professional football league, man. We're professionals out here. But anyways, the reason why the Jaguars are losing is not because of those reasons. It's because they wear teal pants. Stop with the teal pants, please. They don't work. Stop with the teal pants, people. Jacksonville Jaguars. Teal shirt. Black bottoms, white bottoms. Black bottoms, white bottoms. Black bottoms, white bottoms. Say it with me. Black bottoms, white bottoms. Please, with the teal pants. Chill with those, man. That's the reason why they're losing. That's the reason they lose. These choice combinations. You see against the Bengals how great they do when they wear the black helmets, white tops, black shorts. You see how well they do against, God, who they played the week before, the Bengals. That's neither here nor there. But you see how well they do. Just stop with the teal pants, man. They don't look good when you're wearing the teal. When you're wearing the black and the teal, no. Stop with the teal pants. Black pants, white pants. Black pants, white pants. Say it with me. Black pants, white pants. Black pants, white pants. Black pants, white pants. Alright? No more teal pants. But the first victory is on the horizon, and I feel it coming soon. And when the Jaguars get one win, it's going to flood. It's going to flood. I just find it sort of hilarious how teams, when they come to Jacksonville, they just take it as a vacation spot. I saw there's Titans this weekend wearing tank tops and sunglasses and shorts on the sideline. Like, come on, man. Let's take it seriously. No, we have a pool in the stadium, but come on, man. It's a vacation, but sometimes it's business on vacations. Take it seriously. It's sort of a slap in the face. Put on sunscreen, but don't put on swim shorts, man. Have some respect. But the Chiefs and the Bengals. I talked about the Chiefs, not Chiefs and Bengals, Chiefs and Bills. I talked about the Chiefs being a big question mark. The team that I was talking about who doesn't have a question mark, who has an exclamation point next to their name, are the Bills. Right? We know what the Bills are. We know exactly who the Bills are. There's no need. Are they good defensively? They're good defensively. Are they good offensively? They're good offensively. No question mark there. And I was one of those guys at the beginning of the season who wasn't. I was dipping my toe in. With the Bills. Was it because I was trying to save Josh Allen from if he didn't make the no slander list so people wouldn't slander him? Was it trying to help him out there? And then no, it wasn't. I just didn't believe in the Bills. I didn't think the Bills were going to be good. You guys got to give me some slack, man. The Bills and the Browns being good is sort of the first time in my lifetime. I've never seen the Bills really be good. I've seen them beat the Patriots like once. But the Bills and the Browns being good is not normal for me. I was about to say a huge, big word there, but why? Language is for communication, not to show off your smartness. Anyways, the Chiefs, though, do have a question mark by them, as I said. And they just can't figure it out, if we're just watching it right now. And I don't mean they can't figure it out as in terms of they don't know how to win. What I mean is they can't seem to find balance. When their defense lets them down, they invest in the defense, and the offensive line is a problem. When they invest in their offensive line, now all of a sudden, their defense is a huge problem again. Even the season when they won the Super Bowl, the defense sort of got into form as the playoffs happened, which is a good thing. Hopefully this year that the same thing can happen, but I remember the defense wasn't necessarily phenomenal when they won the Super Bowl, but they were solid. And this defense isn't as solid as we think, right? Josh Allen having a field day. Lamar Jackson having a field day. Welcome all those against the good teams, man. Who are they going to play in the playoffs? They're not going to play the Titans in the playoffs. Titans are good. Bad one. There's really a lot of good teams in the NFL. So I'm not going to really say a team. But they're not going to be playing the guys, the middle dwellers. They're going to be playing the best of the best of the best. The wild card team is going to be good. Who the wild card team is going to be? The Ravens, potentially? The Browns? Right? Who else? I genuinely do not. The Chargers? Oh, the Chiefs may be a wild card team. And then they have to go to Cleveland or Baltimore or to Los Angeles. Hopefully Los Angeles doesn't play the Chiefs. That would be like this playoffs where the Dodgers are playing the Giants, where the Giants grinded the whole season. They still play the Dodgers in the playoffs. You know, not unfair, but preferably you would like to play the Braves or the Brewers in your first playoff series. Anyways, congratulations to the Braves, as I will say. And I'm not the kind of guy, Chiefs struggling. I'm not the kind of guy to just give criticism and no solutions. That's one of my pet peeves. Everyone likes to criticize but no solutions. What should they do? First of all, if we're planning ahead, I'm drafting all defensive players in this next draft. Best linebacker available, best cornerback available. I'm probably going to draft the best linebacker, best defensive and or best defensive end available. Right? Every single round. Whichever you think is more of a priority, that's your draft first. The way the season is going, it looks like you may get a higher draft pick, so there's options out there. But I'm drafting defensive players in this 2022 draft. Excuse me. I may be looking to trade Tyreek Hill. Yes, it may be a little bit too far, but they have, God, I forget the other guy's name, but he's a solid player, another speedster. But maybe getting another defensive player. You have Patrick Mahomes. In fact, Patrick Mahomes is who they say he is, who I believe he is. Losing Tyreek Hill may be a blow week 1, 2, 3, 4, but by week 5, they'll figure it out. So trade Tyreek Hill. Or I'm trading an offensive lineman. Then drafting an offensive lineman in this next draft, the best one available, of course. And then paying him the rookie salary, paying the offensive lineman a little less money. And with that, I'm going out on free agency and getting players. Does that make sense? Of course, I probably need to do a little bit more research on it to see how much the Chiefs are paying their offensive linemen. But I remember it wasn't a cheap sum of money. Or it could be, or this whole Chiefs thing could just be, it's week 5 and week 6. And by week 11, 12, 13, they will be looking like the best team in the league. And guess who will have the egg on his face? Yes, Kamal Daniels. So, week 11 will be like December? Did the week season start later this year? By the end of this month, we'll be in like week 9. This week's week 7. Next week will be week 8. Yeah, week 9 by like the end of this year. So November, December time, we'll see how they are. Goodness gracious, the NFL season is quite a long time. From about August to January. And it's going to be a little later than January this year because 17 weeks. But anyways, predictions. Most likely on American football and other sports I don't know a lot about. Like ping pong. Predictions. Jaguars versus Dolphins, I got the Jaguars. But if they lose this game, the Jaguars, I wouldn't mind it. Because if they win, it's going to be another Jaguars should move to London, XYZ. Also, Duval and Jacksonville are one. There's no other city in the county of Duval. So if anyone tells you Orange Park, Ponte Vedra's in Duval, they're wrong. Jacksonville, Duval are synonymous. Jacksonville's in Duval. Duval County is Jacksonville's the only city in Duval County. That's what I'll say. Eagles versus Bucks. Good win last week for Philadelphia, but the Buccaneers, they're still the best team in the league, and they will win this game. Vikings versus Panthers. Vikings. Chargers versus Rams. Chargers do not play the Rams, they play the Ravens. Chargers versus Ravens. Good win last week for the Chargers too, but Baltimore Ravens will win. And I'm happy with Lamar. I'm happy with Lamar throwing 400 yards last week because no more him, he can't throw, no more accuracy, slander, that's done. Over with. I don't want to hear it, no more. He was already on the no slander list, but now no one else can slander him. Bears play the Packers. I'm looking at the script and I just skipped like 5 games. Packers versus Bears. Bears lose to the Packers. Green Bay. There's some trends that you're going to notice. There's teams that I'm going to pick every week no matter who they play. I wonder if you're catching on to that. Rams versus Giants, the Rams. Texans versus Colts, Texans. Chiefs versus Washington. Chiefs bounce back, Chiefs. Bengals versus Lions. This is like the Steelers versus Broncos. If Joe Burrow's healthy, then the Bengals. But if his status is unknown and he doesn't play, then probably the Lions will win. But like last week, I have to assume the best, assume the positive. Bengals versus Lions, Joe Burrow will be playing. I'm choosing the Bengals. Chargers, sure, always said the Chargers. Cardinals versus Browns. The Browns have the most difficult schedule by far. Chiefs, Chargers. Texans gave them a run for their money. Goodness gracious, Browns. I think it's just one of those teams that everyone wants to play. Everyone sees Baker Mayfield, sees Odell Beckham, sees all this, YouTube, Jarvis Landry, XYZ. So everyone sort of wants a piece of them, so they're going to raise the level of play. Anyways, Cardinals versus Browns. Cardinals win. I think this is probably the first week I've chosen the Cardinals. Cowboys versus Patriots. Cowboys. Good win by the Patriots last week. Raiders versus Broncos. Broncos. Seahawks versus Steelers. Steelers. Bills versus Titans. The Bills. NBA starts next week. And I don't really care. Call me when it's the All-Star break. Actually, call me during Easter. If you watch the regular season, I'm not dissing the regular season, but if you watch the regular season, and I'm going to watch it, but the reason why I watch it is to see, and I think the reason why you should watch the regular season is because, did you guys just understand any word I just said in that last statement? Anyways, the reason why you should watch the NBA regular season and the reason why I watched the NBA regular season, hopefully that was more eligible and you could understand that a little bit better, is to see if the weaknesses are fixable for the playoffs and to see if their strengths can be replicated in the playoffs. For example, with Portland last year, their strength of scoring could easily be replicated, and you saw that in the playoffs last year. They scored a boatload. Damian Lillard was still Damian Lillard. But their defense, were their weaknesses fixable? Their weakness, really, they didn't really have a lot of weaknesses. Their weakness last year was defense. Now, was that fixable in the playoffs? No, it was not. The Suns last year, their strength was having a balanced attack with Chris Paul, Jay Crowder, Cam Johnson coming off the bench, Cameron Payne, or Cam Payne, however you want to say it, doing his thing off the bench as well. And their weakness was, could DeAndre Ayton be consistent? We know he can play, but could he be consistent? Their weakness was corrected in the playoffs, and that's why they went on a run. So can your weaknesses be corrected and can your strengths be replicated? That is the key to the regular season, right? So it's really, that's maybe the key to the playoffs, actually. Maybe when you watch the regular season, just see the strengths and weaknesses of each team and see, do you think that strength can work in the playoffs when teams really care a little bit more? Do you think that weakness can be fixed by the playoff time? That's what I want you to think about during this 2021-2022 NBA season. Parity is the word of the day. And that is not the name of the episode. One of the mills is the name of the episode. We established that. But parity is the word of the day. And the NBA, it has it this year, 100%. Who's going to win it? Who's going to win it? You don't know. The Nets? Maybe. The Lakers? Maybe. The Suns? Maybe. Milwaukee? People, I find it quite disrespectful how they're treating the Milwaukee Bucks, because they're going to get better. They don't get worse. Maybe they get worse, but I find it highly unlikely. The regular season is also, if you're not a playoff team, it's also to see rookies. Jalen Suggs will be fun. Cade Cunningham will be fun. Scotty Barnes. I think Scotty Barnes has the biggest upside in this whole draft. 2021 draft, by far the biggest upside, in my opinion. And I think his downside, his worst side, at worst, will be a Draymond Green-esque type player. Will be a good defender, may not have a consistent jump shot, but like Draymond Green. If you leave Draymond Green open, it's not the end of the world. But you really, really would not like to leave Draymond Green open. And I think Scotty Barnes can be a player just like that. Maybe even a better finisher than Draymond Green. Maybe a slightly worse passer. We have to see that. I don't necessarily remember Draymond Green coming out of college, how great of a passer he was. Knew he was a great leader. But I definitely think he can be a Draymond Green type of player in the NFL, NBA. He could play in the NFL tight end. Not too shabby. But the thing I care about the most right now, basketball-wise at least, Chicago onto the finals. The Mercury onto the finals. And they played game 2 yesterday. But I want to sort of touch on the semis real quick. And the Sky have balance at every position. Courtney Vandersloot, she averaged a double-double in the semis. 12 points a game, 10.25 points. 12 points a game, 10.25 assists a game, 5.25 rebounds. Phenomenal. What can I say? Phenomenal. Candace Parker does what Candace Parker does. 15.25 points per game. 17.7 rebounds per game, 5 assists. Phenomenal. Allie Quigley, who was married to Courtney Vandersloot. And we talk about super teams in the NFL, NBA, in football. I find it quite unfair that 2 spouses play together on one team. It's just unfair. What's the purpose of having a team when your chemistry is already going to be tenfold what your the team you're playing against? Because they're married. It's a little unfair. That's all I'm saying. Just a little bit. But Allie Quigley, 13.5 points per game, dropped 19 in game 1, 21 in game 3. Just saying. I'm pretty sure having your wife on a team with you doesn't hurt you. It may hurt you, maybe, if you have an unhealthy relationship, maybe. But the runner-up of the series, the runner-up MVP, or maybe the unsung hero of the series, was Keilani Cooper. Maybe pronouncing her name wrong. Calais Cooper. That's a podcast error. I need to know how to pronounce her name. But 13 points in game 1 and 2. 26 points in game 3. 18 points in game 4. It's called balling, ladies and gentlemen. Then Azaria Stevens averaging 11 points in the series. Just well-balanced, well-oiled machine. Phoenix Suns-esque, if I do say so myself. Bench played well too. When you have Diamond DeShields coming off the bench, I think your bench is pretty good. And I'm telling you, every team is good in the WNBA. I'm telling you, if this was a finals between the Mystic and the Liberty, it would be a good finals. The Wings and the Mystic, it would be, I'm telling you. the Sparks and the Lynx, the Storm and the Sky. I'm telling you. The Sun and the Aces. It would have been a good finals no matter what. That's how stacked the WNBA is. Parity. And yeah, the Sun sometimes just get a bad matchup, Didn't underperform really at all. Just a bad matchup. Jonquel Jones showed up, 16.25 points per game, 4 points in game 2. They won that game though, so that's really not. It's 6.25 points per game if you take out game 2. Right? Wait, hold up. 16.25 points per game in the series, 20 points per game if we take out the 4-point game she had in game 2. She had 9.75 rebounds per game in the series. She showed up. DeWanna Bonner. She didn't have a phenomenal game 4, but she showed up. And in game 4, what showed how good she was, she gave up the ball. How many times do we see superstars not give up the ball when it's not their night? Yo, pass the ball. It's not your night. It's just not one of those nights. That's going to help the Sun in the long run. Showing, okay, one of my best players is still unselfish and still cares about winning and doesn't care about herself. It's going to help him. I'm telling you. Right? But DeWanna still averaged 13.5 points per game, 7 rebounds, regular stuff for her. One-of-the-mill stuff for her. Brianne Jones, Maryland product, baller. As I said, bad matches sometimes. But she still played very well. She averaged 11.75 points per game. Her stats sort of decreased over the series went on. Preferably would not like that. Her points statistics decreased over the series. Next year, I guarantee you, it's going to be the opposite. Or it's going to be... I don't see Brianne Jones having decreasing points next year. And if she does, it's going to be because she has more rebounds, more assists. That's why, over the course of the series. But you live and you learn. The Sun will be back. They will be back. But the Mercury be the Aces, of course. And it's a surprise. I don't care how stacked the WNBA is. That's what differentiates teams' home court advantage, right? When every team's good, you look for the small little tweaks that's going to give you an advantage. And being home, you expect the Aces to win, right? But the Mercury are a legit team. And we saw that. It's not a big surprise, but it is a surprise. Home court advantage, it matters. Now, the Sky and the Mercury are currently tied 1-1. OT last game, great game. Okay, so let me think about this. I'm doing this on the spot. So game 5, right? Giannis alley-oop, dunk. Game 6. No, I take back games. Game 6 is in the running. Game 5 and Game 4 up there. That Golden State game versus Lakers game is up there. The Memphis Golden State game's up there. But that last night's game, Game 2, UCLA Gonzaga is up there. And then this is the best basketball games of the season. But it's in top 3, 4. It's Gonzaga, UCLA, probably number 1. maybe I may put game 2, WNBA Finals, right there, number 2. Then the other Finals games. That's how good last night's game was. They're going to replay it. They're going to show it again. Check it out if you get the chance. MLB. Let's get to the MLB, people. I told you I'm talking about it. Boston Red Sox advanced to the ALCS, and this is good for baseball. It's always good for baseball when the Yankees and the Red Sox are good. Now, if, ands, buts, who, what, when, where's about it, the MLB is better when the Red Sox and the Yankees are good. And I also like the MLB because there's no waiting, there's no hype. There's no 2 weeks until the finals. Let's get to business, man. The wild card series is over. Let's get to business. And when we get to the series, it's not going to be 2 rest days, 3 rest days, 4 rest days. We're playing every other day or back-to-back games. I like it, man. I like it. But Boston making the LCS, as I said, good for baseball. Also, the Astros show, hey, we made 2 ALCSs back-to-back. Yeah, we may have banged on some trash cans, but we were still better than you guys. Cheating is very frowned upon, and I don't condone it. But kudos to the Astros for showing, yes, we're legit. Right? America's great pastime is coming back, ladies and gentlemen. It's coming back. And I didn't say this last week. I think I just said this week, the parity thing. Next week, the parity thing, I will say, week 34, I will say, remember last week when I talked about parity? I didn't talk about parity in episode 32. This podcast is just the parity podcast, but it will be named the Run of the Mill podcast. Or should I name episode 34? Maybe episode 34. Episode 34 will be called Run of the Mill. Episode 33 will be called Parity. Another thing, don't make promises you can't keep, because will next podcast be called Run of the Mill? Hopefully it works out that way, but I can't guarantee it, and I should have made that promise to myself. How dare you? Come on, Dan, make a promise to your future self that you can't uphold to yourself. Making promises to someone else is a totally different matter. Making promises to yourself is another different subject, totally on its own. Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. Don't make promises you can't keep. But honestly, if you want to break a promise with yourself. Especially if it's a promise like this. What episode am I going to name it next week? Don't break promises, though. Word of advice. Anyways, it has just been a week of a year of parity, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm for it. MLB, NBA, MLS. I don't know about the MLS, but Premier League, WNBA, college football, Euros, cricket. Don't know about cricket. But Olympics was pretty periodical. New word. Periodical. Periodical, not periodical, periodical. Skateboarding, parity. Swimming, parity. Gymnastics with no small bowels, parity. Track, parity. They had a guy from Italy, who's from Italy, born in Texas, win. That's parity. That's parity. It's like a leaky roof. How is it like a leaky roof? I can't give you the answers to all the tests, all the questions on the test. Figure it out. It's exactly like a leaky roof, though. Giants lost to the Dodgers. Yeah, let's get back to baseball. I'm done with being Guru Kamal for the day. That works. Don't steal my name. Guru Kamal. Giants lose to the Dodgers. But this is the reason why you have home field, Giants. It's exactly why you have home field. So when you play good teams, and it's a 7-game series, there's no need to worry because, as I said, you have home field advantage. But Dodgers, this is why you have one of the top payrolls in the league. So when is Game 7 on the road? Not Game 7 necessarily. NBA, back to WNBA real quick. WNBA real quick. I think they need to switch it to a 7-game series in the finals. But that's my last WNBA comment. Anyways. And yeah, I purposely didn't do predictions for the WNBA because I'm not qualified enough for it. Anyways. This is why you pay so much money, Dodgers. This is why you have one of the highest payrolls in the league, if not the highest payrolls in the league. So when you play a Game 5 on the road in the finals, in the divisional round, your big time players step up. And I'm not predicting this. Because just like the WNBA, I am not even at the novice level to do predictions. Well, Kamal, you don't do predictions for football because I'm past the novice level in football. Not NFL, not American football, but in football, soccer, I guess we call it in the States. Only time you really should do predictions is when you're a novice about a sport, in my opinion. If you don't really know a lot about a sport, do predictions. If you're a novice of the sport, do predictions. If you don't know a lot about it, don't even touch it. You don't know anything about it. Don't touch it. But if you know a good amount and you're solid in your base understanding of basketball, like in my instance, basketball and football, I overthink it. So I'm not really going to do predictions. And well, Kamal, you did predictions early in the basketball season. My basketball knowledge has grown actually a lot doing this podcast. I watch it more intensely. I rewatch it. It's what I do now. This is my income. This is my job that I don't get paid for. Free labor. But as I said, who's going to win tonight? I'm not doing predictions for it. But tune in. Atlanta beat the Brewers. Again, I predicted the Atlanta Braves would make the playoffs. It was a haphazard prediction. And I was just doing that because Hank Aaron, Braves made the playoffs last year. When I was looking at the NL East standings, it looked like the Mets still has some things to figure out. When I was reading some blogs, it looked like the Nets still has some things to figure out. The Phillies still look like they were doing what the Phillies had done the past few seasons. They still need to figure out some things as well. And when I looked at the Braves articles, they just looked a little bit more once they figure it out kind of articles, And the Phillies were like, it was more of a case of the Braves, they will figure it out. And the Phillies and the Mets, can they figure it out? That's just the post I was getting. That's why I picked the Braves and what happened last year and years in the past. But anyways, I have nothing else to say. And this is another Peng Sports Podcast, Podcast 34, on a Thursday. I got a good amount of views on last week's video in a week. 11 views if I'm not mistaken. I'm happy, man. Blessed to get 11 views on a video. I don't care if it's 11 views, if it's 10 views, if it's 1 view, if it's 0 views. I do this for the people, though. I don't do it for the audience. I do it for the people. I do it for the people, not for the audience. I do it for the 11 people that need to listen to it. I don't do it for the 10 million people that want to criticize it. I do it for the people that need it. I do it for the people. And for the cloud, of course. Of course for the cloud. Come on now. Why else would I do it? That's the overwhelming thing. Right? the clout, because I get a lot of clout from this. I'm the most famous person on FAMU. Yo, that's the guy with the podcast. That's what they say to me on campus. I'm like, yeah, I'm the guy with the podcast. I'm the dude with the podcast. You know, I chase the clout. I'm a clout chaser. That's why I have less than 1,000 followers on Instagram, because I'm a clout chaser. How many clout chasers do you see with less than 1,000 Instagram followers? It's a rarity. I'm different. I'm a different breed of clout. I've attained another level. But anyways, thank you for listening to the Peng Sports Podcast. Premier League starts this week. Football is back this week. Club football is back this week. Look forward to that. Clean your bathroom when you get a chance. This has been the Peng Sports Podcast with Kamal Daniels. Maybe Austin will be hosting it one day. Maybe another one of the people will be hosting it. Maybe Richard McGowan will be hosting it. Maybe Landis Austin. Someone else may be hosting this podcast one day. But this has been the Peng Sports Podcast, episode 34. Episode 34 is next week. This has been the Peng Sports Podcast, episode 33. Thank you for listening, and please have a great day.